Once upon a time, an elderly woman, I don't know how old, so don't ask me, was in a prayer meeting and prayed the following: "It really doesn't matter what you do with us, Lord, just have your way with our lives." And a woman by the name of Adelaide Pollard, that sounds like an old style, 1902 name, right? Just happened to be attending that prayer meeting that night, seeking some comfort during a very discouraging season in her life when she was trying to raise money to pursue a mission in Africa, and the money was just not coming in. She was really struggling. And so she went to a church. She found there was a prayer meeting go on. She walked in and she heard this woman pray, "It really doesn't matter what you do with us, Lord, just have your way with us." She was greatly impressed and moved by that woman's prayer, who had really, if you've been in a lot of prayer situations, and we obviously have them every week, the old woman's prayer had omitted the usual requests for blessings and things, I should say, and simply petitioned God for an understanding of and a surrender to His will. So she went home, she meditated a little further on the prayer that she had heard, and she read in Jeremiah 18 these words: "So I went down to the potter's house, and there he was working at his wheel, and the vessel he was making of clay was spoiled in the potter's hand. And he reworked it into another vessel, as it seemed good to the potter to do. Then the word of the Lord came to me, 'Can I not do with you as this potter has done, declares the Lord? Behold, like the clay in the potter's hand, so are you in my hand.'" Adelaide Pollard, before she went to bed that night, wrote the 4 verses of the hymn you just sang. "Have thine own way, Lord, have thine own way." And the way she wrote it that night is the way that we're still singing it today. And I think one of the things that strikes me about it is she makes a couple of interesting observations in the midst of that hymn. One of them is she says, "While I am waiting, yielded and still." Would that my prayer life would start out of moments of waiting and stillness, as opposed to rushing into them, as opposed to rushing out of them, as opposed to feeling like I'm coming to God because, oh, I need this, and oh yeah, God, it'd be great if you bless that, and oh yeah, I forgot about that person who's having surgery. Whatever you want to do there, that's fine. There's all that kind of stuff that goes with it. But I sense that what Adelaide needed to hear that night was just a sense of stillness, a sense of yieldedness, and a willingness. There's a poem by an unknown author, all the good ones are, that says this: "I am willing," in fact it's called "I am willing," but then it goes on, "I am willing to receive what you give, to lack what you withhold, to relinquish what you take, to surrender what you claim, to suffer what you ordain, to do what you command, and to wait until you say go." Some pretty important little lines in there, but I think the whole idea of when we simply sing a song like we just did, "Have thine own way," we have to ask ourselves a few things. Why is it we can do that? Why do you feel even the freedom to be able to do that? Somebody throw out an idea.
Trust.
Trust? Sure. What else?
Because I've messed it up on my own. Sure.
Right?
I'm forgiven.
We're forgiven. What does it say about the character of God if you're willing to say, "Have thine own way"? You trust Him. What else? He's good. He's good. He's faithful. See, my heart is that you all know this, but I think it's good to rehearse it. The character of the one you're waiting for means everything. And waiting on means everything, right? The one who said, "I have loved you with a steadfast love." The one who said, "I look throughout this earth to strongly support those whose heart is completely mine." The one who said, I am the good shepherd. The one who said, I'll never leave you. The one who said, I'll never forsake you. The one who never lies. The one who is always with you and will be forever. Isn't it easier to trust somebody like that and to say, have thine own way? Because a lot of us go through life half the time believing that we're being taken advantage of. You know, whether it's the car dealer, whether it's the grocery store, whether it's something, you know, you go to the plumbing or somebody comes in to work at your house. You just never know how all of that kind of comes together. But with God, He never fails. And yet, it's God who's always asking you sometimes to take the biggest steps of trust and makes you wait sometimes the longest, right? But that's why it's so important, and I just want to end with this, that's why it's so important for you to trust the character of God. And more importantly, to rehearse it over and over and over and over. Because I believe there truly is an enemy in this world that wants you to forget that. He wants you to forget it, you know. And he wants you to question him. You really think God doesn't want you to know? He wants you. You can be just like him. You can hear those words, right? Over and over and over again. So it just reminded me as I started looking at that hymn again and then read this little portion of Adelaide Poller's life that reminded me, here she was in a very difficult part of her life, a very long season where she was trying to raise money, and frankly, she never did. But she did go on to do other ministry things. And this was the only, apparently she'd written some other hymns, but this is the only one that survived. So for whatever reason, God put his stamp of approval on it. And we're still reading something that was written back in 1902, 100 years later. I wonder how many songs that are written today we'll be singing 100 years later. No comments. All right, so let's go on. Because truly the